Hey there, Icarus here, and welcome to my year in a nutshell. I figured this would be a good idea, just recap the year in general, because it's easy to lose perspective, it's easy to forget, it's easy for a year to just become a smudge, a blur of memory, and come out the other side thinking, what did I even achieve? What did I even do? What did I even play? But to lay it down in raw numbers, I've averaged at least 2 Mod Madness videos per month, which is pretty good going if I say so myself. Consistency is something that I've been trying to get better at, but as a dad of 3, 2 of those being twins, juggling the time that I have to make these videos and edit them and all the surrounding research, as you can imagine, gets a little bit tricky. On a similar notion, I find it vaguely miraculous that I've been able to keep up my live streams as frequently as I have. If we're taking individual subjects, plus or minus a few revisits here and there, I've managed a unique subject for my stream for practically every week of 2025. On average. Again, consistency. It's the kind of thing that I don't believe I'm very good at, but somehow I've managed to. Despite myself, despite my worst personal intentions. It's not been bad. It's been alright. Other stuff that I've tried to add into the mix, you'll have no doubt seen more regular postings of shorts. If you follow me on TikTok, you'll see me there. If you follow me on here, on YouTube, you'll see the occasional short posted. In terms of something that just blew up out of nowhere, there's a clip from the Chimera livestream where the imp mutates. I've got the Skelly VTuber going, and for some reason that has done gangbusters on TikTok. It keeps doing gangbusters on TikTok. I don't know what to do with that information. It doesn't really make me any money. Exposure, I guess. Exposure's good, they say. But in terms of the mods, which I'm sure many of you are here to hear about, you'll have no doubt already heard me talk about the CAC Award picks, which include Diamond Dragon, Abyssal Marine, Private Stone. Each of those absolute stellar gameplay experiences, each offering their own particular brand of adrenaline. But out of the 3, in terms of raw, unabashed, just grinning from ear to ear violence infliction, I'd probably have to give it to Abyssal Marine. And the other reason for that is because it's the only one of those 3 that I handpicked out a licensed music track just for the sake of the intro. I don't do that for any old mod. Diamond Dragon is certainly the extremely close runner-up. I love Diamond Dragon to death. And Private Stone, even though it's in 3rd, I still rank as a supremely enjoyable gameplay mod. It's actually a sibling of another mod by the name of Lieutenant Typhon. If you like Private Stone, trust me when I say, you're gonna love Typhon. In terms of mods that I was surprised to see not on the CAC Awards this year, Ascension Denied is certainly one that stands out to me. This one strips you of all of your weapons and instead replaces them with a gigantic cyber demon partner. Immediately intriguing as a concept, and you can basically order around your cyber demon partner, who can stand on platforms to activate lifts and doors and what have you, or you can order them to shoot things such as switches, or even you, in order to catapult you across gaps. This kind of basic outlay of commands and instructions that you can utilize get transformed into these wonderful puzzle box scenarios that honestly delighted me the entire way through. It was a really inventive usage of a cyber demon as a partner, and I also appreciate that part of it is that they're apparently in love less. I mean, it does raise certain questions in terms of how that love works. No, let's not pursue that. No. I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention Endless Madness 2, Nuclear Boogaloo. This is appropriately insane. You know, it does exactly what it says on the tin. It basically inflicts madness, but via the most show-offy kind of inclusions you can possibly have in a modern Doom source port. This one in particular, though, I think was using a fork of GZ Doom, so it's using VK Doom, and even then a customized version of that. So I'm not sure what the future may look like for that particular mod, but it's still receiving updates. They had a Halloween update, they've got like a Christmas update, they've got like this entire almost sub-roguelike mode as an endgame thing you can do. It's got tanks, it's got submarines, it's got gigantic, horrifying walking eyes that'll shoot you to death with lasers. It's a fun old time. I'd recommend it if your PC can handle it. Man, did I play Brutal Half-Life V3 this year? That must have been relatively early on, but I recall having a tremendous amount of fun. One of my favorite things about Brutal Half-Life V3 is it's more than just the gameplay. They've also layered more custom levels inside of this as well. And you can choose between Half-Life versions of Doom, Quake. It's just smashing all of these things together in this crazy amalgamation via Half-Life and via the medium of ultraviolence. What's not to like, honestly? And speaking of amalgamations, I've got to talk about Amalgoom. I did discuss it briefly in the last video, talking about the CAC Awards, but again, very happy to see it on that list. I think it did a stellar job. It does that wonderful thing of just making you stop for a minute and go, wait a minute, I've been here. I recognize this bit of level, and you do that so often. If you're familiar with OG Doom, Doom 2, there'll be a lot of moments like those. And if not, it's still pretty good in its own right. What else can I say about Quake 2 Call of the Void other than chef's kiss? Wonderful addition to the pantheon of ever-growing Quake 2 custom contents. I mean, I called it an expansion. I'd like it to be an expansion. I'd love to see it officially in the menu of that Quake 2 remaster. And it's just nice to see Quake 2 get a bit of love, because for a long time, Quake 2 was my first Quake. And as you know, with any first entry that really grabs you in a series, it holds a close place in your heart. So much so that once upon a time I registered a domain at best-quake.com because it was cheap, and I made it redirect to the Quake 2 Steam page. That was fun. But getting back to Call of the Void in particular, it's just really, really good. Shockingly good. Like I said, it feels official. It feels premium. And in a theme that seemes to be recurring across many of these picks here, it features a mushing together of elements from both Quake 1 and Quake 2. But here, the themic glue that holds these two together is that the Strogg have basically decided to exploit the eldritch dimensions here, and as a result you get these cyberized, strogified Quake 1 creatures, and the mushing together of arcane and tech is just it's so friggin' good. You really should play it. I'm just picking through my list of things that I've streamed during the course of the year as well, and man, there is so much. We Have Doom at Home was a really fun map jam project where the conceit of the levels was trying to make it a place of residence, and the amount of permutations that generates, it's seriously impressive. Vox Arcana. Oh yeah, that was the 1920s weapon set gameplay mod. Not often that you get a gameplay mod set during the Roaring 20s, but it does real nice with the actual weapon loadout itself. The first half is more like traditionally recognizable stuff, covering like the Colt, the trench gun, and the Tommy gun. I love me a Tommy gun. Old school gangster Tommy gun, and then it progresses into the more fantastical weapons at the top end of the loadout. But yeah, I recall having a lot of fun with this one. It had the unfortunate prestige of being paired up on the exact same stream as a Captain Wayne demo, so, you know, it's no wonder that I struggled to pull it out of the mists of my memory there. And hey, that's exactly what this kind of video is for, is as much for me as it is for you guys. How could I forget my Doom Shrunk in the wash? This was a very particular standout map in the greater whole that encompasses the Ramp 2025 map set. This is a huge set of maps, by the way. If you want variety and you just want to see all sorts of different themes and different takes on what you can do with the Doom level, check out Ramp 2025. But my Doom Shrunk in the wash in particular, I mean, it does exactly what it says in the tin. It shrinks down every level from Doom 1 into, just about the most burly, viable form of the former selves. These shrunken, tight packages of level that still convey every recognizable aspect that you'd want them to, basically. It's a testament to distillation of the essence of a Doom level, and for that reason, it'll always linger in my memory, that's for sure. But yes, as stated earlier, be sure to check out Ramp 2025. Huge variety of levels, and yet some very surprising little gameplay implementations nestled within. Red's Overworld deserves a mention, in my opinion, because I had a little bit of a fraught relationship with it the first time I played it. Just there was these little irritations that kept cropping up that I just couldn't deal with, and so I had to put it down for a while, and I endeavored to return to it, and I ended up playing practically the entire thing. Did I play the entire thing over multiple streams? No, as it happens, I only played about halfway, but trust me, the halfway point of this feels like an entire game in its own right. There's more than a little Command and Conquer Red Alert DNA running throughout the course of this. You've got multiple episodes covering multiple factions, so you're basically playing from, I think, up to 3 different perspectives depending on the episode. It's got a bit of a Blade of Agony vibe in terms of the way it looks and plays, and seriously impressive. Seriously impressive. It's huge. Like I say, I only got about halfway through. Found myself enjoying it quite a lot, for even like some of the flaws in terms of slightly confusing level design sometimes. I think it's well worth the time spent. And I'm hoping at some point to get the other half of it done. Maybe for New Year, yeah? New Year's resolution. That and Evernity 2. Oh my god, I need to play Evernity 2. I feel like I need to give a quick shout out to some cursed entries that I played during the course of this year. Toilet Doom is certainly one.
Observe.
Oh no! Skibbity Doom is the other one that I wish I could forget. And then there's Chimera. As I said earlier, Chimera is interesting for the fact that most of its interesting stuff is front-loaded. But that imp! That goddamn imp! Could you say that Put the Fries in the Bag is cursed? I mean, if you've ever been in retail, it's like a PTSD flashback, so that qualifies at the very least. Now, I know there's other more controversial stuff that came out this year. There's the Pink Valley. I played a bit of it. I'm not really interested in covering it. It plays like a cry for help, and I'll leave it at that. Oh, you know what it's been a great year for, though? It's been a great year for Doom Engine game releases, and this is fantastic for me to see. These recognizable names from the Doom modding community going out into this bigger space, putting their names on the line and actually showing the world what can be done with Doom Engine games. And the thing that really impresses me is that each one of these entries that I'm going to talk about is doing something different. They're not all hewing to the same format, the same style. They're bringing something different to the table. Mohrta, for example, is quite possibly the magnum opus of developer Scumhead, and I've only played a small portion of it. That's how confident I am in how good it is. It is delightfully weird in terms of visual design, monsters. There's a hub area that, if anything, reminds me of the Troll Market from Hellboy 2, and a non-linear approach to its levels that echoes Demon Souls. Yeah, pretty much. You got like the Nexus, and then you've got all of these realms that you can visit in any order you so choose. I mean, yeah, it's got personality for days. You've got I call it a little boo-boo that can heal you, and it's just a delight. I desperately want to play more of it. I want to carve out more time for it, and I hope I get to do that real soon. Beyond Sunset, I've had the pleasure of playing in various forms over the years, and I finally got to play it front to back. It was an unfortunate victim of some publisher kerfufflery behind the scenes, if I'm not mistaken, and that does, in my opinion, get reflected in the back end of the game. It feels a little truncated once it gets to its conclusion, but in the lead up to that far-off endpoint, you've got these vast, interconnected, just intricately designed levels, some of which are very open in terms of approach, sometimes encompassing entire optional areas that you can miss if you're not looking for them, and just a vibe, a straight-up vibe that is really nice to inhabit. I just love the way it approaches its cyberpunk dystopia. It's got a vibrancy to it. And naturally, within all that, you've got the combat, which chiefly seems to take the form of more arena-style battles. You'll do a lot of bouncing around, a lot of movement, and some quite satisfying finishing moves with the sword. And then, on top of that, you've got the boss battles. I quite like the way the boss battles are handled here. They've got these patterns to the movements, to the attacks, You read them, you react, and I just like the way it works. It tickles the happy centers of my brain. I also really love the hacking segments in this, which feature a virtual reality representation of this world's internet, basically. And it's wonderfully quaint in terms of how it looks, very vaporwave aesthetically. You've got these polygonal entities that are trying to kill you, eject you from the system, and you'll often have to solve these laser bounce puzzles in order to break further into the system and then access something in the real world that'll allow you to continue in a level. It's just nice. I really like it. It's a lot of fun. It really is. And the only major thing I could bring against Beyond Sunset is there wasn't more of it. I would have loved to have just, even more of it to enjoy. Captain Wayne is just cartoon anarchy. It's delightfully unhinged. It feels like it shares a little bit of attitude with, say, what's the name? Pizza Tower? Anton Blast. That's the other one I'm thinking of. There's a satisfying pinch of pugilism to the gameplay here to go along with the fact you got a shotgun for an arm. It's just wacky, it's fun, it's unrelentingly fast-paced. It's just constantly pushing forward. There's constantly stuff happening. It just feels like there's no downtime in Captain Wayne. And during the course of playing it, I was just at a loss for words. I was at a complete loss for words because my brain was just so completely overwhelmed with everything that was happening. It just didn't give me any room to string together a coherent thought because the rest of my brain was just too engaged with having fun with it. On a similar front, I had a tremendous amount of fun with Petaka, which I believe is Indonesian. Let me double check that. This is the kind of thing I feel like I need to get right. Yes, I'm right. It is Indonesian. I like it when I got my facts straight. But yeah, Petaka is very arcadey in its approach. It doesn't have quite the same kind of cartoon anarchy as Captain Wayne, but if anything, takes its notes, at least stylistically, I believe, from Mega Man. It's got that feel to it. You've got alternate fire modes for a lot of your weapons, you've got a method of recouping armor and health through melee finishes on your enemies, and you just got delightful, vibrant visuals, really nice soundtrack, and additionally a horde mode, which I don't think I was actually privy to the first time I played this. So yeah, they're adding stuff all the time. Pretty sure there's going to be big additions in the future as well, and yeah, just a real nice time. I couldn't be happier with the slate of Doom Engine games that are out right now. It's lovely to see. Should I talk about games I've enjoyed this year? You know what, I'm going to talk about games I've enjoyed this year. Cultic Chapter 2. Holy shit. How freaking good was Cultic Chapter 2? If you've been holding off on playing it, and you've played that first half, oh man, it just raises the bar. And the thing that astonishes me even more about it, it's a one-man show. It's a one-dev product, and I'm just like, this is an astonishing amount of talent. The way the guns feel, the way they sound, the combat, the usage of dynamite, the level design, the visual aspects of it. It's just, it's an absolute 10 out of 10 to me. There's no two ways around it. I mean, sure, that sounds a little hyperbolic now that I mention it. I can come up with criticisms. There are criticisms. Few of the levels in the back end do get a little too big for their own britches, but, it feels like a minor nitpick when you stack it up against the general greatness of everything else you get to experience during the course of Cultic. Viscerafest is another one that I was very happy to get the full whack experience of this year. It is not going to be for everybody, but, I've got a stubborn personality, and I'm more than willing to throw down against a challenging gauntlet of gameplay. And boy, oh boy, does Viscerafest deliver on that. It's a gameplay loop that's heavily reliant on movement, on having the right tool for the job, and really learning the interactions and intricacies between different groups of enemies. Target prioritization, all of that classic old school stuff, but just dialed up to 11 and couched within, this fast-paced, relentless style that will just beat the ever-loving crap out of you if you don't take it seriously. And beyond that, you've also got the amazing characterization of the protagonist in the form of Caroline, and the narrative. Oh boy, the narrative goes to some very dark and twisted places. So just be prepared for a a slight tinge of horror. Just a little. But yeah, if you've got the right temperament for it, Viscerafest is an absolute adrenaline rush. Especially when you're hitting that flow state in combat. There's nothing quite like it. Can't believe I played Whole this year. That was something I did a What the Heck video on. That was an absolute delight. It's like a tightly packaged bite-sized form of the PvE extraction shooter, just boiled down to its most essential elements, and one that really captured my attention. I just couldn't think about anything other than nailing its particular gameplay loop. And yeah, if you want to know more about it, I've done a What the Heck video on it. Feel free to check that one out. As for others, Abiotic Factor, man, I dismissed this one at first because I thought it was just being too much of a riff on, the Half-Life style visually. And then I played it, and it's entirely something else. It's more of a exploration survival game where you explore the various facilities of not Black Mesa. And yeah, you basically got to do the Minecraft Rust thing, but with office supplies. I don't know how to adequately explain it other than I've spent a shocking amount of hours in it. I mainlined it. It became an obsession for a short while, and then I just had to say, sorry, no, I need to do other things. But something about that survival exploration crafting gameplay loop just absolutely got its claws into me and would not let go. And I also made poop soup. I couldn't figure out how to get rid of it. It was a bit of a traumatic experience for a while until I realized that you could just tip the pot out. I was convinced that you had to drink the poop soup to get rid of the poop soup, but thankfully that was not the case. Now, Desecrators, this is an interesting one. I feel like it's been flying under the radar for a lot of people since its release, but imagine Descent and Forsaken, couched within roguelite-style progression with procedurally generated levels. If you've ever enjoyed those games that I've just mentioned, you're going to be right at home within the gameplay of Desecrators, which also adds like extra spice as you get deeper and deeper into any given run. For example, you'll have rivals that'll pop up in the course of a mission, and you'll have to essentially duel them. And they were so effective the first time that I actually thought it was like a multiplayer component. I thought I was actively fighting against a live human player, but no, it was just a really effective feeling in-game AI. But yeah, it really keeps you on your toes. You can never guarantee you'll experience the same thing twice. You get set objectives such as recovering certain items from Hulk, or just blowing up the reactor, again, Descent style. Visually, I'd say it leaves something to be desired, but I'm willing to forgive that because it seems to be a consequence of how the procedural generation of this game works, not to mention the fact that this appears to be a single dev game. There is one thing, though. There's a wobbly texture in the entry capsule at the start and exit of every level where it's a little wibbly, and it annoys me because I can't help but notice it. Fix it, goddammit. But I am also happy to see that it does receive constant updates. There are, like, additional conditions and level variations added to it as time goes by. And I hope it continues to receive that support because I do feel like it deserves a wider audience. Speaking of games I feel that have somewhat flown under the radar for a lot of people, Incision. This is as boom shoot as boom shoot could be. I mean, you just take one look at it and you'll go, yep, that's a boom shoot right there. I'd actually been a fan of Incision since the release of its initial episode in early access, and I was so impressed with it, and I felt so complete by the end of that first episode that I genuinely couldn't conceive of where they were going to head next. But the fun thing about Incision with each successive episode is that it asks that question to you again, and it keeps surpassing itself. It keeps pushing to even more strange heights. But yeah, at the core of it, it's got this very singular focus and style. Visually, it's all about that flesh. It's all about that goop. It centers itself around this eldritch biomechanical plague, this growth that consumes, reconfigures, and can turn flesh into steel. And crucially, it keeps finding new and interesting ways to add additional layers to the lore behind this entire thing, so it never becomes rote or familiar throughout the course of it. It's constantly adding things that make you go, oh geez, what's happening now? And yeah, it also maintains this surface layer of disgust, is how I want to describe it. There was at least one person who reliably turned up in my live stream going, oh god, are you playing this again? I can't. I can't. It makes me want to... And personally, I find that admirable. I like that. The gameplay, at least in that first episode, is brutal. It really is. I was surprised at the difficulty of that first episode, to the degree that I felt like I'd wiped my memory of preceding attempts, because when I went for my full whack front-to-back playthrough of Incision, practically the first corridor of Incision was just beating the ever-loving heck out of me. But eventually I shook off the rust, I got back into the swing of things, and if you've ever enjoyed classic boom shoot style stuff akin to, say, Dusk, I'm pretty sure you're going to find a home here in Incision. This is why I feel like it's been flying under the radar. It feels like it is tailored to appeal to that same crowd that absolutely gobbled up Dusk, and I feel like they'd have an absolute whale of a time with this, with maybe one particular caveat, and it's something that you'll see pop up in a variety of reviews, and that is the fact that it does not allow you to do quick saves. No quick saves for you. Instead, what Incision relies on is a lives system. And the most brutally crushing thing about this, and this is what makes that first episode even more cruel when a death inevitably occurs and you're at 0 lives, is that you have to play that level from right back at the start. And these levels can occasionally go on for quite some time. There is a degree of, like, stomach-churning tension that this generates by the time you reach the back end of a level. And if you've been playing in a particularly sloppy fashion, you'll be looking at that counter going, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to last with that last life there. This is putting me somewhat on edge. And that's not for everyone. The reviews are definitely proof of that through what I've read. But I was able to power through, and man, it just keeps getting more and more enjoyable. But yeah, I'm hoping this at least brings it to more people's attention. I certainly had a real fun time with it, and I'm sure a lot of other people will too. In any case, feel like I should speedrun the rest of these, otherwise I'm going to be here all day. Hyperbeat is a really interesting, vibey rhythm game. It's got characters who seem to be suffering various forms of existential crises, and you build up your relationship to them by playing through delightful musical creations. Visually, it reminded me of Rez. It's maybe not quite as psychedelic. It's largely you traveling down this tube and making sure you hit the gates and, hitting the button prompts at the correct time in order to get the right score, which will then, in turn, unlock cosmetics and upgrade your relationship with those aforementioned characters. It's just a vibe, man. It's one of those laid back, relax, and just go with the flow style games. Granted, there are more difficult variations of each song for you to play, so it's not devoid of challenge if you need that in your rhythm games. But yeah, pleasant surprise. It feels like it popped up out of nowhere. Nubby's Number Factory. Good God, that nearly consumed me, that one. Again, like most, I became aware of Nubby's Number Factory thanks to Northern Lion's stream, where he was playing a lot of it. And it just makes you sound like a crazy person when you start describing all of the items that grant you multipliers. The entire point of Nubby's Number Factory is to make big numbers, and to continue making bigger and bigger and bigger numbers until you beat Number Factory. You've got different modifiers that you can use, you've got different item combos. They're all increasingly absurd, and yeah, it'll make you sound like a crazy person if you ever get into it and try to describe it to anyone else. Metal Eden. This is by the same developers as Ruiner, a cyberpunk game that I absolutely adored stylistically, and I feel like they've been able to translate that across quite well into this new context. It's first person, whereas that was top-down, almost isometric. And they've got a gameplay loop here where the combat feels like a middle ground between Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. It flows surprisingly well. I'd say, though, you're not going to get too lost during the course of these levels. It is quite linear, it is quite straightforward, but I think the strength of Metal Eden is in that aforementioned gameplay combat loop. Narratively, I feel like it had a fair degree of forward momentum, and I say feel because I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what the plot was. My brain is turning to mush, and I played it a fair few months back now, and that kind of information starts to dissipate if you don't re-access those memory pathways. But I do recall enjoying it. I did enjoy the strange relationship between your protagonist and the handler, and that certainly seems to echo the preceding game, Ruiner, where there's a similar kind of relationship. You're like, well, I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but we have to push forward regardless. I'm sure there'll be some strange revelations further on down the line, and that certainly is the case. There was a bit of a kerfuffle, I recall, with regards to AI voiceover work in this. As it happened, that was relegated to a single robot shop voiceover, which was so inconsequential, it's actually kind of annoying that they didn't just grab a random guy in the office to do it. I mean, they would have avoided all of this. It's dumb. It really is. But anyway, other than that, would recommend. I think I'm going to wrap things up here. I did have designs to continue on and on with TV and film and music that I've enjoyed this year, but I don't think my brain is capable of sustaining this degree of recall this extended length of time. I have been at this for hours. This is the first time I've attempted to do something like this for a good long while, and my brain is beginning to leak out of my nose. So I'm going to take this as my cue to leave. Hope you've enjoyed this little recap of stuff that I've enjoyed during the course of 2025, and at best, I hope that this has illuminated a few things that you may not have been previously aware of, stuff that you may end up enjoying yourself. If you enjoy what I do here on this channel and you don't already, liking, commenting, subscribing, bell ringing, all of that stuff helps. And if you want to go one step further, I got channel memberships, I got Patreon memberships, you get early access to videos, I get to continue doing this for a little while longer. But until next time, this has been Mr. Icarus. Thank you very much for watching. Icarus out.